Christopher, hi, good to see you again.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, so for our short video series, this time we're going to be talking about sperm whales in Dominica, orcas
Yep.
mobulus in Mexico, as well as the sardine run in Mexico, which sounds kind of brilliant. But shall we start off with the sperm whales in Dominica? Can you tell us a bit about the trips and when they are, what happens?
Sure. So, the sperm whales in Dominica, I've been running trips there since 2015. I've done 18 now. Each one lasts just over a week, so 8 nights. We do 6 days on the water and then a full day land tour. And I do 2 weeks in second half of May, and then the last week of November and the first 2 weeks of December is when I go out there. But the sperm whales are there year round. Which is why Dominica is the prime sperm whale encounter destination on the planet. There's probably about 60 resident adult females, and then young juveniles that hang around in different sort of family units. Some tend to stick in their family unit, others socialize with other units. We recognize individuals through different markings on their flukes. They evolve over time, but we keep pictorial records of them so we can identify them and figure out who's who. Some have pretty distinct behavior. They don't always behave in the same way. They're like us. It depends, what mood they're in, what time of day it is, whether they've had their morning coffee or not. If they're in sort of hunting mode, or if they're more apt to be socializing or even sleeping. We get a whole gamut of behaviors when we're out there. And we don't always see every type of behavior in a week. Really depends, it's nature, it's wildlife. They decide what happens. We're just privileged to be there and to be able to observe them most of the time. Pretty much every trip we have good encounters. I've had 1 week out of the 18 that was a bit of a dud. All the others have been varying degrees of amazing. Basically, I've done it 18 weeks now, and I still get blown away by it. It's still such a magical experience, and there's always plenty to learn. And even for my local guide, he's been doing these trips for over 2 decades. He's an experienced marine biologist, and he learns sometimes when we're there as well. He's obviously got a lot less to learn, but he still picks things up. So yeah, we go out sort of 7:30 in the morning. We're on the boat. We go out for about 8 hours a day. We use a sport fishing boat with a flat sort of duck board or a dive platform off the back. The trips are snorkeling and freediving only. We need to be quick and we need to be mobile, and pretty much all of the actions on the surface anyway. So scuba diving and cylinders would make everything much slower, more cumbersome, and we'd have much less success. Freediving fins are pretty useful there. Sometimes a lot of the time, we're just lying still in the water waiting for things to happen, but then other times we need to move quickly to try and keep up with them or to get into position. We often drop a fair distance from them so that we can move slowly close to their trajectory and sort of not intercept them, but they swim by us or swim towards us if they want to. If they want to avoid us, they'll avoid us. We also use technology to find them. Our biggest friend is still the Mark 1 eyeball, looking out for blows at the surface when they're up and breathing. But we also drop a hydrophone regularly. If we can't see them, that means they're underwater somewhere. So we listen for them. And it's directional, so we have an idea of where they are, and we move towards them. And every day is a different day, but most days we have multiple encounters in the water with them. Some of the encounters can last 20 seconds. Some of them can last 20 minutes. The longest ones I've had have lasted over an hour and a half with 2 pods of socializing sperm whales together.
Ah, how fantastic that must have been. My goodness gracious. And other than that, most amazing encounters, can you tell us a bit about accommodation, travel costs?
Sure. I use two different types of accommodation there. I'll do 1 week. We do it in a local guest house, comfortable ensuite bathrooms. There's a full kitchen there, so people can cook for themselves. No meals are provided, but there are local shops where people can pick up produce to cook with. And there's lots of little bars and restaurants that we go out. We base ourselves in a town called Soufrière. We don't stay in Roseau, which is the capital. The other sperm whale swimming trips tend to be based either up in Roseau or up north now in Portsmouth. I like being down in Soufrière at the southern end of the island. We often find the whales out in the Martinique Channel, which is off the southern part of the island. And Soufrière has a lovely vibe to it. Nice little beach, hot springs in the beach at Bubbles Beach Bar, which was a good place to relax after a busy day swimming. And then the second week we do at a place called Jungle Bay Resort, which is one of the best places to stay on the island. Very eco-friendly, lots of wood, lots of greenery, and good food. And it's a 1 kilometre walk from the jetty. So in terms of getting there, it's got easier over the years. In the past, you could only fly in through San Juan and occasionally through San Martin. But now American Airlines run an almost daily service from Miami to Dominica, leaves at 10:05 in the morning, gets in about 2:20 in the afternoon, local time. So for Americans, that's the best way to connect, but you can still also connect through San Juan, Puerto Rico. And for Europeans, often they'll fly via London to Barbados and then hop on a Caribbean Airways 1 hour flight from Barbados to Dominica. In terms of costs, the last week. Sorry?
You beat me to it. I was just going to ask you about the costs.
Yeah, so in terms of cost, 2 people sharing a room at the guest house, it works out at about $4,500 for the 8 nights. It includes transfers and a full day land tour as well. And the Jungle Bay, it's now I think $5,420 for the 8 nights, and that includes a full hot and cold buffet breakfast, which is excellent. All airport transfers, all daily transfers are included as well.
Lovely. And I'd love to hear more about that place, but let's move on to the orcas and mobulas in Mexico. Yeah, can you tell us a bit about that trip?
Well, this is going to be the first time for me. In June, we've got 2 trips running on a boat called the Gallant Lady. It's a 12-berth luxury yacht, or motorized yacht, in the Sea of Cortez. And I've always wanted to do, I love whales. I've done quite a lot of trips with humpbacks as well. And I always wanted to dive with killer whales or swim with killer whales, but I never fancied doing it in Norway because it's just too cold for me. I like warm water. I'm a softie. And then I found out about trips to the Sea of Cortez in June. Perfect. The water's going to be about, same as Dominica actually, about 28, 29 degrees centigrade. We have a spotter plane dedicated to us, flying for us on the first 4 days of the trip, looking for the orcas. The mobulas are there in the tens of thousands. They're monks, pygmy mobula rays, and the orcas are there pretty much to eat them. There's a lot of protein there for them. And all the trip reports that I've had from previous trips have excellent chances of sightings. 85% of trips you're in the water with the orcas, and on most of those trips you're in the water, have good encounters like 3 days out of the week. So the first part of the week we're specifically looking for the orcas, going up and down the Sea of Cortez. We actually used the mothership, the Gallant Lady, there's a search vessel as well, whilst we jump in some very comfortable tenders with sunshades, and we're out looking. So we've got us, we've got the mothership, and we've got the spotter plane up there looking for us. And then later on in the week, we explore a bit further. If we're lucky, we might come across some blue whales, fin whales. There's a very high chance that we'll get in-water encounters with sea lions as well. Might be some whale sharks. And then towards the end of the trip, we head down south towards Cabo Pulmo. And on the last day, we will scuba dive with the rays, and there's a good bull shark dive down there as well that we're going to check out. So we run 2 trips in this June, both are full. June 2024, we also have 2 back-to-back weeks, which are 15th to the 22nd of June and the 22nd of June to the 29th of June. We've got a few spaces left on each of those weeks. So I'm really excited for that. Can't wait to get there and get in the water with them and get some good images. And on all of these trips, I've been shooting underwater for magazines since 2007. So on all of these trips, I also provide photography coaching, both setting up the cameras, using them in the water, and then quite important these days, processing your images as well, using software, generally Lightroom. But we also give people tips and pointers and assistance editing videos if they're just shooting with a GoPro. Oh, that was a big bang. A rather large boat just came beside me.
Right. Well, it's not an earthquake, so
No.
Yeah, all good. And cost?
Costs, it's standard cabins, of which there are 10 of $4,200 for the week. Includes everything apart from a $65 port and park fees that are paid on board. Fly into Cabo San Lucas or San Jose del Cabo Airport, airport code SJD. Loads of ways of getting there. Arrive on the day of departure and leave any time on the last morning.
Wonderful. Mexican sardine run. I mean, right, it just goes on and on. Your life is just too exciting.
But this is another new one that I booked recently. This is for November 2024 in Magdalena Bay on the same boat that we're going to use for the Orca and Mobula trip, the Gallant Lady, 12-berth boat. Really high standards of cabins and crew. And in this one, we're based in the Pacific side of Mexico. It's not too far from shore, Magdalena Bay. And that is for the Mexican sardine run, which has a ton of striped marlin, also sea lions coming in to prey on the sardines. And that one is a mix. You can do it on scuba, or you can do it on snorkel, or you can do it on both. So it's great for scuba divers, but you can also bring a partner who's not a certified scuba diver, and they'll get just as much out of it. And that one is 7 nights as well. It's a little bit cheaper off the top of my head. I think it's about $3,500. Same as the Orca trip, fly into Cabo San Lucas and out of Cabo San Lucas.
Right. Cabo San Lucas, I think, has grown hugely since I was there in the, I don't know, late 70s, early 80s. It was almost like a one-dog town. It was tiny. And now I believe it's quite a big city.
I hear it was a one-dog town. I've only been going there for the last, about 8 years.
Right. Okay.
It's a great, it's the start point for Socorro trips as well, for the giant mantas, which are also fabulous trips. But no, it's big now. It's like a big marina, lots of fancy yachts in there. There's some crazy things there, like the 2 helicopters on top, because one's not enough.
Excellent. Well, and thank you very much for that. We'll wind up there for that. And the next time we see you, you're going to tell us about the St. Helena trips.
Yeah, sure. Look forward to it.
Fantastic. See you soon.
Thanks, Jeff.
Cheers now. Bye.
Bye.